Oh, this is going to be a good one, Jason.
There's fire involved.
Yes.
In space.
So this is a game called Trampoline Terror. Dun, dun, dun. Oh.
Indiana Jones ripoff. I just realized that.
So this is an old Sega Genesis game, Jason.
Wait, is that DreamWorks like the film DreamWorks?
I don't know. That's bizarre. I've never noticed that before. We should explain what we're doing, Jason, and why we're doing it.
Oh, yeah.
Why would anyone want to watch us play Trampoline Terror ever? I think the answer to that question is they wouldn't. But this is part of a larger scheme of ours. We started looking around and realized we had so many old consoles.
Yeah.
So many old consoles. And we decided to do something with them. So this is the Evolution of Gaming podcast. And the goal is we are going to play on original hardware whenever possible. We were actually playing on a real Sega Genesis, the original Sega Genesis, in fact, with the original controller. And let's just go ahead and start the game. Yeah. Why not? I will. Here we go.
This is just a one-player game, right?
This is a one-player game. So our idea right now is we're going to play consoles, all the consoles from as many as we can get our hands on.
Yeah.
So right now, sitting in front of us, we have things like an original Xbox, the Xbox One. Wait a minute.
No, yeah. That's
now it's confusing.
Yes.
We have a Dreamcast sitting right there.
That's fine. Yeah.
We have a Dreamcast. Now, we're going to set a couple of guidelines. Not rules, because we might have to break these at some point in the future.
Yeah.
But, for instance, we're going to try to play on original hardware whenever possible. However, that won't always be possible. But what we'll do is we will always try at least to play with the original controller.
Right, yeah, that's a big deal there.
Yeah, so the goal of this podcast is really to talk about what it was like to play on these old consoles. So I think it's pretty obvious at this point, Jason, we're not just going to be playing, like, hit games.
No. Yeah, I had never heard of this at all, ever.
So our goal is really to play as many different types of games as possible on the original hardware. Now, we will do backwards compatibility as long as the actual hardware, the original hardware, is built into the console.
Yeah.
An example, PlayStation. I have the PlayStation 3 that has full backwards compatibility.
Right.
You actually have the hardware of the PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 1 inside the console.
Yeah.
A bonus there is that the PlayStation controller hasn't changed in like 20 years.
Yeah, which has always been my sort of big thing about it, that it just makes me always feel like I have arthritis.
Yeah.
It's just so small, and I mean the new controller actually looks like it's gotten a little bit of a tweak and a beefier build, so
yeah,
I'm kind of looking forward to that. But
yeah,
which is why the Dreamcast was such a delight.
Oh,
it had a nice wide controller.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean we're working on original hardware. I mean you're supplying the Genesis that you're playing.
Yep.
I brought my Xbox over. Obviously I'm the owner of the Dreamcast as well. That's probably my favorite system.
Yep.
We've got an original NES or NES.
Yep.
We'll be able to easily get our hands on a Super NES and a N64. It's just a matter of going out and finding them and stuff like that. So
yeah,
we'll spend a little bit of money.
Yeah, we're not gonna. The goal is to be cheap.
Yeah.
We don't need it to be $0, but it needs to be cheap because we're not made of money. But yeah, that's why we're playing this sort of thing. But you know what? I think this is a fun idea, Jason, and I'm happy that we're doing it because I love playing on these old consoles, but I hardly ever get a chance to actually do it.
Right. Well, I mean, with so many different, providers providing these old games on, like Xbox Live, or, the Wii's got their old sort of games available and stuff like that. It's kind of nice to actually get the original hardware in your hands.
Exactly.
And to make, and see if it still works. I mean, some of these systems, you open them up and there's just hardly anything there. It's just like a motherboard.
Yeah.
A couple capacitors and a power supply. Whereas, then you jump over to the, Xbox and you've got like a hard drive in there and stuff like that. So it is kind of interesting to sort of see how things have evolved from, what an old console used to be compared to, essentially owning a computer.
Yes.
Because that's essentially what all the consoles are now. They're just computers.
Exactly. In fact, the new PS4 and Xbox One are literally, you could build those computers with off the shelf parts. Like,
well, yeah,
right now.
and you could probably actually build them for cheaper.
Exactly. So that's the goal. We are definitely never ever gonna do like computer and emulation where it's like, oh, we have this image of a NES cart and we're gonna play it on a keyboard. We're not gonna do that.
Right. Unless it's an extreme circumstance, but I can't imagine us getting to that point unless.
No. We got lots of games to play, guys.
Oh yeah.
Lots and lots and lots of games to play. So that's not a concern. So that's kind of what we're aiming for. Oh, first death. We should talk about this game, Jason.
Yeah.
This is Trampoline Terror. And I guarantee you no one has ever heard of this game before.
I had no clue that this even existed. Looks like it's from 1990.
Yeah. So the Genesis ran from 90 to about 95,
96, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean they kept trying to like upgrade it with new devices. I never had any of the add-ons for the Genesis ever.
I guess there was a Game Genie for it, right?
There might have been. I have no idea.
I can't quite remember.
But I never had any of those add-ons. I literally just had the Genesis, and I gotta say this controller still works pretty well. This is an old. This is the original stuff I had when I got a Genesis in 1991.
This is Gen 1 hardware.
Yeah, this wasn't. There's no updates to any of this stuff.
Yeah. Well, I had the second generation Genesis, so you know.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably why we're starting with this particular console, is because it seems like it's the thing you and I both have in common.
Oh yeah.
Is that we sort of grew up playing a lot of stuff on the Genesis.
Yeah.
Which is not necessarily uncommon.
Oh yeah. Genesis was people don't remember. I think younger people might not remember Sega as like a console power, but they were sort of
Yeah.
But they were the equal of Nintendo for quite a while.
Well, they made Nintendo have to sort of up their game.
Yeah.
In many different ways, which was nice. It was nice for everyone. I mean, there was that competition that you're wanting from Sony and Microsoft right now.
Yep.
And clearly after E3, Sony kind of forced their Microsoft's hand.
Yeah.
To make some changes on what you can expect when it comes to hardware.
Oh, all right. Let's continue. We got 5 continues, Jason. We might use them all.
Which I think is odd because you own the game, so you should just be able to continue at your leisure.
Exactly. But yeah, this is something that people don't. I don't think people playing games nowadays remember this world where you might have to start over your own game that you bought.
Oh yeah.
Because everything was based off of like arcades, stuff. Where it was like, oh, this is how it worked in the arcade, so this is how it has to work on the console as well.
Well, and these consoles, we wore them out pretty good. I remember sort of like, okay, let's take a break. Let's go outside and build a fort.
Yeah.
And just leave the console turned on because you didn't want to turn it off because you weren't going to be able to start the game again.
I never did it myself, but I did have some friends who, with their original NES, left it on for like 3 weeks straight because they were trying to beat a game and it didn't have a save feature.
Oh yeah.
And it was like,
I would imagine it's probably Zelda.
I don't remember what it was. I think it was some really, really obscure game.
Okay.
But,
I would think something like that with Zelda would be it.
Yeah.
Because Mario, you can usually get back to your original progress point. But anyways, this game, you sort of were talking to me about sort of its genesis, to use a term.
Yeah, where I got it from. Yeah, so this is... I had never heard of this game either. The reason I own this game, is I was visiting some family members. I had some family in Alabama with my aunt. My mom did not come with us because I just wanted to go somewhere for the summer. and so my aunt was going to visit family in. I was going to visit family in. She was going to visit family in Alabama, and
Sure.
I just tagged along. So while we were down there, we went to a flea market, and I had just gotten a Genesis, the previous fall, I think. So I was desperate for anything to play on it. We went to a flea market, and this guy had a bunch of Genesis carts. And so I was just enthralled. I'd never seen so many Genesis carts. So if my mom had been there, she might have said, okay, well, we'll buy a couple of these or whatever. Or I could have convinced her to buy me a couple. But it was my aunt, and my aunt was not, going to buy me anything like that. So called my mom that night, and she said, yeah, you can go ahead and buy Andy a couple of these. I'll pay you back or whatever. And so the problem was we didn't get to go back to the flea market. Which, was awful because I had all these games in my grasp, Jason. They were right there, and I never got to touch them. So what the compromise was we would go to KV Toys, and I would have $20 to spend on games.
KB Toys was always sort of the delight of any mall trip.
Yes.
For me, at least.
Exactly. Because I never had a Toys R Us in my town, so
Right.
we only had KB Toys, which is a much smaller sort of place. But when we got to KB Toys, they had Sonic, which everyone had.
Sure.
Oh.
Yeah, you're not doing a very good job of playing this.
I know, I'm not. And they had a bunch of weird, obscure games. They had this one and a game called Turrican, which I'm imagining we'll get to at some point. And again, I was just desperate for anything to play, and they were each $10 or whatever. So I was like, okay, then these will be my games. And so I got them, and I played them quite a bit. Although Turrican, I remember being completely, I couldn't understand. Off by one error. I remember I couldn't ever get anywhere in Turrican because I couldn't understand what the hell was going on. But I imagine we'll get to Turrican, and I will get to relive that experience.
Yeah, it's kind of strange because this one actually is a official Sega Genesis seal of quality game.
Oh!
So, the people at Sega saw this and were like, yeah, we'll put our name on this.
Yeah.
So, essentially, you got the cart, you got the physical cart here. I'm looking at it, and of course it's got, a couple screenshots, which back in the day was probably like, oh, I gotta have this game.
Yep.
And essentially, the description here, I can just straight up read it, essentially, if you want me to.
Yeah.
All right, well, it has the Trampoline Terror logo, which you saw. It says,
Yeah.
from space, a menacing fortress appears in the sky. Surrounding it, a trampoline sidewalk, trampoline in sort of quotes, I don't know why, armed with bombs and patrolled by enemy invaders, clearly, which you can see there. It says, you, the Trampoline Terror.
So I'm the Trampoline Terror.
Yes, you are the Trampoline Terror.
Awesome.
Have the guts to fight back. Stealthful observation reveals self-destruct switches planted on 32 strongholds. So you're at stage 10, you've got 22 to go. It says triggering each one will be no simple task. Powerful alien patrols will thwart your efforts, pushing you to the edge and beyond. And beware of the trampolines whose very structure weakens with your every jump.
Yeah, so right now these guys are green. You notice when I jump on them, when I land on them, they turn blue. If I stay on one, it goes yellow, then red, and then it breaks, like that.
And then the last line here says, only your bounding skill and sharp cunning can save the day, so hop to it.
This is not a terrible game. I could see playing this for, a certain amount of time, and, I think I probably played it for...
You played it for a little while when we were first sort of testing out this whole situation.
This is not a bad game. Not at all. I think, I understand why it wasn't a huge hit, but this is not a bad game. I think the level design is a little sort of not great, but I think if somebody remade this game now and with really amazing
nice.
levels, and this could be the next Super Meat Boy.
Yeah.
If they really bumped up the controls and made it something crazy. The concept is solid. It's just the controls are sort of so-so, and it's very easy to die, like it was in a lot of old school games.
Sure.
That's sort of how they worked. But yeah, I can't imagine If you have heard of this game, please post in the comments.
Totally,
Tell
yeah.
tell us about your experience with this game, because seriously, I have no idea who else would have known anything about this game. There's only two controls. There's jump and there's fire. That little ball thing that I have. That's it. That's all I got. A and C are both jump, and then I have one extra fire button.
Yeah, that's actually what it says as I'm looking at the instructions here. It says start button starts game and pauses game, obviously.
Yep.
A button to jump, B button to throw P-balls when you have them, and C button to jump, same as A button. Just
Awesome.
imagine the guy that wrote that was just kind of like, well, we got to put it there.
Yeah.
There's going to be questions. And of course, your high score is the score you have now.
Yeah.
Then the switches say, how many switches you have left to set, which is nice. Because
Yeah.
they could easily have not included that. You'd just be running around not knowing how many left, are on the map.
Yeah.
Of course, how many lives you have is where it says... well, does it say how many lives you have?
In the left.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it's
That's
weird
kinda
nomenclature.
weird.
That's again, it's like how many lives do you have left, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, and then it reiterates that the trampoline terror is you.
Huh. Those little red things are those little red switches. We saw some of those before. Those were teleporters.
Yeah.
They teleport me to another location. And I hate those bullet things. Those are the worst enemy.
Well, this says there is actually a playing the game description here. It says the object of trampoline terror is to touch all the switches on each grid level, exploding the grids. Each grid is composed of an area that measures 16 by 16 squares. Appropriate,
Okay.
16-bit kind of being
Yeah.
the thing there. It says most have something in them. Some are empty and must be avoided or jumped over. But in general, there are 4 different types of floors. And then it talks about the tiles, the switch plates, the trampolines, and then the teleporters,
Okay.
which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Although, now that I'm reading here, it says setting the colors in certain orders will get you higher scores and have special effects.
Oh, okay. I had no idea.
Yeah. So...
I don't know what order that is.
There is literally a chart here that is blowing my mind. That makes no sense whatsoever. There's like a ×1, ×2, ×3, ×4, and then it lists green, blue, yellow, and red, and then a bunch of stuff in the middle. So, if you... Okay. If you set a green... Okay, I see what it's doing. So if you go and find all, like, the yellow ones first, you would just score up, and score up, right?
Okay.
And then if you set the green one, and then another green one, and then the third green one, all the trampoline colors will improve ×1.
Oh, okay. So it's got like...
Right.
Okay, it's got bonuses.
And then if you do the green one 4 times in a row, you get an extra life.
Ah, all right. So we got to be watching out for that.
Yellow, if you just do them all at once, you just multiply by 1. So you do 1 ×2 ×3 ×4 if you just do a bunch of yellow ones in a row.
Okay.
Then if you do red ×1, you score up, ×2 score up, then ×3 enemies will actually freeze for a short time. And then red, if you manage to do it 4 times in a row, it destroys all the enemies on the level.
Ah.
See,
all right.
it helps to read the manual.
Yes.
It really does. I didn't even see that the first time I read the manual.
Yeah. Let's see what we can do. See if we can find some more reds here.
So again,
Oh, well, I can't really do anything with that. All right, so I can do green.
yeah. And then if you do blue the same way, you score up, no enemies, and then you clear the round straight up if you get 4 blue in a row.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, this is why I think this could appeal to people who love games like Super Meat Boy that are kind of needlessly complex, needlessly difficult. As long as it has really good controls.
Sure.
That's sort of the... So, yeah, I mean, I could do something like this where... Oh!
So yeah, if you were to do all those greens, those 3 greens, your trampoline colors would improve ×1.
Okay.
So you could possibly help yourself get back to an area that you
Yeah.
destroyed by jumping around.
Yeah.
So you did that red one, then you do another red one, and you would score up again, but then do a third red one, then your enemies would freeze for a short time.
Okay.
So let's see if you can do that. So find another red one if possible.
There's another red one. All right, so what's supposed to happen? Okay, so this is
So
the enemy
see-
thing.
So now they froze.
Yeah.
Now if you find another red one, it destroys all the enemies.
Okay. I don't know if I have enough switches here to get another red one, but let's give it a shot. I had never known that. I don't think I ever read that manual all the way through.
Well, that might have improved your outlook on the game.
Exactly. Yeah, I was never really into sort of, again, games like this that were sort of like, oh, okay, well, you have to know how to. Really precise controls are required to do all this stuff. Let's see what's down here. Is there another red one down here? No more red ones.
I think they're all there's one there, and then there's one over on the right.
Yeah. So I think there's only 3 red ones here. I can't get to the red one from here without going around. All right, so what do I get for... Ooh. All right. Let's see here. I'm just going to try to get the greens here. So I skipped the blue.
Okay.
I know there's a bunch of greens right down here.
If you manage to do 3 greens in a row, your trampoline colors improve ×1, and then if you do it ×4, then you get an extra life.
Okay, so I know there's more greens right over here.
Yeah. So there you go.
Nice,
you got an extra life.
one up.
And that happened to you when you were just testing this out a while ago.
Oh.
And that's probably how you did it.
Yeah.
You were trying to figure
Because I
it
hadn't
out.
even had any idea that you could get special things. But I'm running short on lives here, so I'm just going to try to get through this.
No, yeah, just lay waste. There's no...
We're definitely not going to do a full playthrough of this. In fact, we're getting close on sort of the agreed upon time, because I don't know how long people will actually watch us play these old school games for,
But if you're enjoying what you guys see and you want to see more of it, let us know, and by all means, we'll set a separate, recording session to run through them either together or individually or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we are interested in entertaining, and I think that we've got lots more games planned.
Yeah, there will be
every episode is going to be a different game, and we'll sort of mix up the consoles. We got lots of them.
Yeah. And there are some games that we will want to play all the way through.
Oh, yeah.
Regardless if you want to see them or not.
Yeah, exactly. I'm doing a Shadow of Colossus playthrough here that I think is going to be really entertaining. So,
in just about every game I own for the Dreamcast,
yes,
I still own for a reason.
Exactly. I feel bad because I've consistently gotten rid of old consoles when they were past their time, but. I always kept my Genesis because that was my first console.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk more about all this stuff as we get to more of these games, but I think this is a good place to stop, Jason.
Yeah.
So let's get out of here. Evolution of Gaming Podcast. Thank you guys for watching and or listening. Trampoline Terror on the Sega Genesis.
Yeah, that just happened.
Yeah. We'll see you guys next time.